Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am the Lumberjack, and there's a reason why you are looking at a bottle of Sprite. Because you are. I just felt like it. No, this is going to be a quick video. This is Buy, Run, or Pass, episode 7. And this time for Buy, Run, or Pass, the title is... Boom. Right there. Assassin's Creed Unity. I'm not going to discuss any of the technical issues because, well, quite frankly, all the technical issues with the game have been very well documented in the last 3 months since its release. So I won't get into any of that. Me, personally, this is a classic case of 2 steps forward, 4 steps back. I that's really the best way I could say that. Alright, now, excuse me, I'm going to pause the video real quick. And I'm going to do something so that I don't have to hold this box in my... Okay, there we go. Just cleaned off some space. Here you go. Here's the box. I can't show you the disc because the disc is in there. And I'm not going to show you the screen because, well, I don't want to have any issues with there being even the slightest bit of a copyright claim. But, yeah, I know what you're going to say. Well, you're showing us the box, but, yeah, the box is a box. You can't really file a copyright on a box. That would fall more under a category of trademarks and trade depictions, which is a whole different side of the legal system than the copyright system is. So, but as far as it goes from there, they really couldn't really get me on anything with the trade depictions. So, but my personal thing on this, and as again, there's you're seeing the other phone that I basically use as a tablet and a camera now because it's not connected to a network. But, alright, as I was saying, I'm not really going to talk about any of the technical stuff because that's really been well documented over the past 3 months, 2 or 3 months since its release. So, what I will say is that my own personal feelings, as I said, it does have this feeling of, okay, 2 steps forward, but 4 steps back. Because while I enjoy the setting, I like the idea of revolutionary Paris during the French Revolution, because it really was the literal and figurative capital of the revolution. But that said, the setting at times can just be God, it can be so fucking tedious. And half of the problem is that the crowd system. Oh my god, Ubisoft. Why? Oh. I understand that Paris is supposed to feel like a big city, and you're supposed to have a lot of interaction. But more often than not, that I find myself getting, for lack of a better word, slowed down, lagged. I mean, more often than not, the crowd in Paris, the crowded streets of Paris, and the people in those streets just get in my way when I'm trying to go somewhere on the streets, that I spend 80 to 90% of the game, whenever possible, going along the rooftops to get somewhere as opposed to the streets, because it's just such a pain in the ass to navigate through the streets with the crowds there. And on top of that, and this is something that a number of people have said about the series, which I agree with, the combat system has got to get an overhaul. And I don't care what they say about this year's combat system. It's basically the same freaking combat system as before. Attack, hope you get it. If you don't get your attack, then you better be prepared to counter or parry the next attack. And then when they're staggering, then you can get your attack. And that's basically been the same way it's been since Assassin's Creed 2. And Ubisoft, please, for the love of God, overhaul the combat system. That said, one of the things I really like in this game is the lockpicking system. I do kind of hate the fact that you basically they basically forced you to go through 75% of the game to get the max lockpicking upgrade. And here's another part where I'm really frustrated. Some of the areas, some of the doors, even some of the chests that you have to lockpick, it's just like, okay, I put all this effort getting to this part of the game so I could get the master lockpicking. You're putting a chest behind a max level door. I open the max level door, I get to the chest, and okay, I have no idea how to pronounce the currency of the game, so I'm just gonna go with what I know was at one point a French currency, a French franc. I don't know. I've tried to figure out how to say what the currency is in the game. I just can't. So for the purposes of this, I'm gonna call the currency francs. Okay. So as I was saying, there's this door. It's a max level lockpicking door. I pick the door. I go to open the chest, and it's 300 francs. I mean, really? 300, not 3,000? I mean, it was just like, ugh, really? So from that point, it's stuff like that it's just kind of like, Ubisoft, what the hell are you doing here? And it's just that and other things like it. And there's also, there's a lot of things, you know, the moment, there's just so much that's kind of like, why are you doing that? Why did you put this in the game? Really, Ubisoft, what is the purpose of this? And getting back to the crowds events, oh my God, they are repetitive. Oh, there is just like pieces of clothing, equipment, and it's just like, it's the same fucking events over and over again. Tackle the thief, kill the criminals, scare the bullies, shoot the messenger but don't be seen. And it's these same 4 or 5 or 6 crowd events just repeated over and over and over again. There is just literally no variety to the crowd events. And it just, for me, it gets to a point where it's just like, ugh, this one again. And I mean, there's just so many things that, from gameplay wise and from just an immersion point, that just drag the game down for me, that it's hard for me to say anything other than this. If you are a fan of Assassin's Creed, if you have a PS4, then I would strongly urge you to rent this game before you buy it. Rent it first, see if it's something you like. If you like the game, then buy it. If you're not a fan of Assassin's Creed, if you don't like the Assassin's Creed franchise, then I'm gonna say, you know what, pass. If you're not a fan of Assassin's Creed franchise, don't bother with Unity. There's so many things, both from the technical standpoint and from the gameplay standpoint, that I have to say, this is, for me, if I had to rank all the Assassin's Creed games, let's see. There's been Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, 3, 4, Rogue, Unity. And before you say anything, no, I'm not counting any of the mobile games or any of the handheld games. I'm just talking console only. I would probably, let's see, out of what, 8 games? You'd probably have to put this one like 6 or 7. I mean, for me, Rogue is at the bottom of the list. Assassin's Creed Rogue is at the bottom of the list because for me, Rogue is nothing but a glorified expansion pack to Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and they're charging $60 for what is basically an expansion pack. And at that price, I just cannot say anything other than it is at the bottom of the list for me because it should have been a $30 to $40 game, not a full-fledged retail release. So for me, Rogue is at the bottom of the list because it's because it is an expansion pack and they are charging retail price for it. Now, this one, I would put 5th in that 6th or 7th. You know what? Probably that 7th slot. Because I would probably have to put Assassin's Creed 3 in that 6th slot. Not that it's a really bad game. It's just, there's... The American Revolution is a good setting, but the way Ubisoft went about it kind of sucks. It just kind of sucks. Then I'd put the original Assassin's Creed in number... Wait a sec. Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, 3, 4... Okay. Yeah, I put 3 at that 5 slot just because how they went about doing the setting just doesn't kind of work. And let's see, I'd probably put the Ezio trilogy in that 2, 3, 4 slot based on the order in which they came out. Just based on the fact that Assassin's Creed 2 for me was a huge leap forward from the original Assassin's Creed game, and then Brotherhood and Revelations were pretty much expansion packs to that, but they were still pretty good. Cause yeah, I do kind of like the Ezio character. He was a pretty good character. But for me, the best, I personally am, Black Flag for me is my favorite of the Assassin's Creed series. It's the one that I would prefer to play more often. I just like the, what can I say? I like the idea of being a pirate. Okay? So, but, oh yeah, one last thing before I finish this video, and this is a critique of the Assassin's Creed franchise in general. Ubisoft, what the fuck is with your characters? Oh my god. Aside from Ezio and Edward, most of the characters in the franchise have just been kind of that kind of meh thing. And also, Ubisoft is... Did somebody at your office, do you have a bunch of people who are scorned by past lovers? Because what is with your characters having a love interest, but the love interest always dies? I mean, seriously, what is up with that? Okay. Alright. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's that's basically my opinion of Assassin's Creed Unity. If you're a fan of the series, I recommend that you rent it before you even think of buying it. If you're not a fan of the series, you're probably not going to buy it anyway. But if you're not a fan of the series, but you're looking to get into this series, this isn't the entry point in this series that I would recommend for anybody. Okay? I would say if you're not a fan of the series, pass on this one. If you're not a fan of the series, but you're looking to get into the series, I would say the better choice of the two next gens, and yes, I know this was really the first full-fledged next gen release. I mean, you know, current gen release. I don't know why I'm saying next gen. But this is really the first from the ground up current gen, you know, PS4, Xbox One, and all that. This was the one that was the first from the ground up release for that console there. I would say pass on that. If you're looking to get into the series, I would say your better choice would be, if you're looking into getting into the series, is to buy Black Flag on the PS4. That would be a much better choice to get into the series than Unity. But really what you should do, and this is my recommendation. PS3, get the Ezio trilogy, have Assassin's Creed 2 be your starting point to the series, and I would go from there. Alright? So, ladies and gentlemen, that is Buy, Rent, or Pass episode 7. I've been the Lumberjack. Hopefully you've been you. Try to behave yourselves. As always, I'm first, and I will see you next time.